grew up on a farm. My dad had a 300-acre farm, and he also had a sawmill. So we worked on the farm and at the sawmill. I had 3 brothers. 2 of them were older than I and 1 younger than I, and 2 sisters. It was a good life. It was a hard life, and I've always been thankful that I grew up in a situation where we were taught the ethics of work.
The values and interests that define Ned's life took root early.
When I was about 9 or 10 years old, my dad would let me drive to Sunday school. And that was a big thrill for me, especially since I had 2 brothers older than I, and he would allow me to drive instead of them. But he trusted me, and I always appreciated that.
For fun, Ned's father took the boys to local racetracks. But his love for racing came to life on the same day as NASCAR.
I was very fortunate to be able to attend the first stock car race that NASCAR sanctioned. It was held on a 3/4-mile dirt track, the Charlotte Speedway, June 19th, 1949. And so I went down, and I wanted to get as close to the racetrack as I could possibly get. And they had just a wooden fence or a wooden post, and one of the cars came by, and all of a sudden something hit that fence post and knocked me down. When I got back up, there was a fan blade off of one of the cars that had stuck into that post that I was leaning against. That was my introduction to the Cup Series in NASCAR racing.
This is the way stock car racing used to be. It started on small tracks like this, where the spectator can see everything going on, and the driver, if he's new, gets an education, or if he's a veteran, stays sharp.
Ned Jarrett's interest in racing was heightened by the excitement of attending NASCAR's first sanctioned race. The construction of a track minutes away from the Jarrett farm inspired Ned to become more than a casual observer.
Boy, wait till they get that thing built. I'll go up there and show them how to drive. And so secretly I said, I'm going to do that. So I worked it out so that the first race that was ever run at the Hickory Motor Speedway, I drove in my first race. But I had done this without talking it over with my dad. And so he came to me after I'd driven in that first race, and he said, we need to talk. And I said, uh-oh. So he said, I know that you like racing, and I'm partly responsible for you liking racing. He said, you're such an important part of the business, and said, we need you here. And he couldn't see where me participating with that group of people who were driving race cars in those days could do too much to add to the image that he had worked so hard to try to build for his family. Because most of the drivers back then were bootleggers. And now some people would say, well, those that weren't bootleggers were just a bunch of fools that didn't have any better sense to get out there and risk their necks. Well, I guess I fell in that category. Anyway, I saw where he was coming from, and I said, okay. He said, now you can work on the car and own half interest in it, but said just whether you didn't drive it.
Ned listened to his father until one night, when a friend who was too ill to race asked Ned to fill in for her. Ned did so well, he ran more races under an assumed name.
He came to me and he said, okay, he said, if you're so determined to drive one of those things, he said, use your own name and get credit for any accomplishments you may have along the way. He became my biggest fan, really, as time went by.
The work ethic Ned developed at home soon defined the goals he set at the track. However, he needed to see continued results before leaving the family business.
One thing led to another, and in 1956, we found ourselves running enough races to be in contention for the national championship. And we did finish second in 1956 to Ralph Earnhardt. So after we finished second, we decided we'd go for the national title.
The persistence paid off, with consecutive Sportsman Division crowns in 1957 and 1958. Ned then chose to pursue racing as his professional aspiration, rather than his amateur ambition.
I drove in the Sportsman Series for about 7 years and continued to work on the farm. And Didn't get away from that until 1959, and that's when I made the decision to try to pursue a career in the Cup Series of NASCAR.